Welcome to Shift Your Shit, Kill Your Fear. I am Mariel, a subconscious reprogrammer expert, and today I am so excited because I always share about how we are constipated in the mind, and the mission of my soul is to get you free and clear in the mind. And today I have the incredible Michael, and I'm going to let him share a little bit about, because I can't do justice to his powerful work here in this world. And his mission is really shifting your shit in your body. And I love a conversation around how we can shift the shit, not only in mind, but body, because we are here in a human experience. So yes, we can do a lot of things in the mind, but we can't forget about the physical of our body. And so my intention that you're listening today, you are walking away with some potent shifts, not only in mind, but in body, of what to embody moving forward to live a more happy, healthy, and well-being in your being here in this world and in this time. So Michael, so grateful to have you. It was a no-brainer to welcome you here because you have such a passion, such a soul of giving and serving, and you're so genuine and real that I was like, I want you to come on here and just share this beautiful mission that you're on, and for us to have this deeper conversation at a root level of this body process that you do. But I know that you also bring mental to it as well. So share anything you'd like to share about your journey, your mission with us today.
First of all, I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for having me on and including me here. I was just listening to what you were saying, and it reminded me, there's a tremendous mental and spiritual shift that happens when people shift their shit in their body, and we actually go through these physical detoxification processes. I think it's like 52 times it's mentioned to do fasting and prayer together in the Bible, and then there's all the other spiritual practices also include a lot of fasting and cleansing work, and there's a reason for that. I had a very profound experience with that myself, like just focusing first on physical cleansing work, and then suddenly watching my entire mind and spirit change.
Beautiful. And again, that's how I was like, how can it be separate? And that's kind of a question that I had, is that, do you really, can it be that separate of, I remember at least in my own journey, it was so funny at the time I didn't realize, right? Like your words are your wand, and really it's so powerful what we are wanting and what we're desiring. And I remember being like, I want to feel more like a clear channel for this world that I can do my work. And the next thing I know, colonics and this awakening, releasing lifestyle shows up. And I was like, like literally it's not only cleansing the body, but the mind, the spirit, the soul. And I felt that so profoundly. And I'm curious, how much you related that in your journey and the people that you work with. And just to preface those listening, Michael shares so much knowledge about the awakening, releasing lifestyle, which, maybe we won't dive so much into, but of course, Michael, please share nuggets that come through you to share. But really, it's kind of, I think, like most diet lifestyles on its head. I think the word diet is so subconsciously programmed for so many people, and so heavy and scary and fearful and intense, where I think when we go to lifestyle, it's so much more, again, what can we do consistently? It's not like a 3-day thing and whatever. This is like how you're going to support your vessel, that soul, through this life. And what I love about this process, and Michael, I'm happy for you to speak more about it, is it's a little bit, I think, rebellious against a lot of the normal traditional stuff of the noise that's out there. And for me, it just made sense. And I always tell people that are listening, find what makes sense to you and then roll with it. And I just love how it's kind of this lifestyle on its head of we're talking so much about what we put into our bodies or into our minds, and we're not focusing on what we're putting out, right? I'm about clearing your mind, and this work you do is about clearing the body. And that, I think, is so much more potent than what we're putting in. So I'm going to let you share at least anything about your experience that you noticed where it was mind and body shifting for you, and then what you bring to your incredible community as well.
Well, I think one of the things that a lot of us have trouble understanding is that, we don't become toxic or get clogged because there's too many good things coming in the body, right? The things that are actually taking away from our physical health, and whether it be like fatty liver, clogged arteries, congested colon, heavy metals stuck in the tissue, like whatever it is that is entering the tissue and sticking around, these are not good things, right? So I was at a personal development seminar many, many years ago. I was in California, and it was like at a event center hotel near the airport. And we were doing a lot of deep process work, right? And it was like 3 or 4 days or something of like these intense long days. And it was like doing a lot of process work with people. And I was sitting with all these great people, and they were talking about how, like there were all these different exercises where you would basically, in some form or another, you'd be expressing what you really want to be in life and how you want to show up in life. It's different than where we are now, right? Because it's a personal development seminar, people looking for growth, and people want to be more love, and they want to be more open, and they want to be all these great lofty concepts that we want for ourselves and that they were talking about. And then it came time for lunchtime. And I went to sit out in the sun because really, it was like an intensive. We're inside this hotel all day. I'm in beautiful Los Angeles, nice sunny day. And I go to sit out in the sun, and I watch everybody in droves start to leave, and they're going across the street, and they're going to all the fast food restaurants, just like all the trash that they have, at a high transit place, right near the airport, right near a hotel. And it was all the McDonald's, the Wendy's, all the places, right? And I was thinking, wow, these people are actually going out to put their energy into something that is the complete antithesis of what they said they wanted to be. They're putting in food that destroys the body and causes disease. They're putting it into companies that leave a trail of pollution, and they're eating animals that are tortured and killed in the worst way possible and raised in the worst way possible. And I thought that is the exact opposite of what they said they wanted to be in the world. Now I understand, I wasn't sitting there like judging them hard, but I'm observing, and I'm going like, because that's what everybody does. That's what my family does. That's what a lot of people do. They just kind of eat mindlessly. But I was like, when we want more and we want to be different in the world, and we're putting our energy into that, we're more likely to embody what we're building ourselves with, right? What we're putting into our body, where our energy's going. Because when it comes to food, for most people, we eat and snack more than we pray, more than we do affirmations, more than we do all the things, the meditations, all the things that we want to do to like evolve our spiritual life or to go through personal growth. We actually eat more than we do any of that stuff. So that's really one of the primary ways that we show up in life. That's our dance with life right there. And if we're putting in food that clogs and poisons and leaves a trail of destruction behind it, that's the energy we're putting out into the world. Right. So on a personal level, like when I used to basically live that. Cigarettes, started smoking at 12 years old. I used to would drink blackout drunk 5 to 6 nights a week for many years. This is in my early years. Ate all the bad food. As soon as I had autonomy over what kind of food I could choose and eat, I was eating all the fast food. I was eating all the junk, and my physical body suffered, but I was also making some really bad decisions and not really thinking properly. And my life showed it. I had a lot of problems in my life. And, I'm skipping over this part for the moment, but when I sort of had my divine intervention, I'll call it, and I had this awakening moment, and I went, okay, I need to clean up my entire life now. And I started getting into organic food and juicing and hydrating and not drinking alcohol and quitting smoking and doing all these things. I'll make sound really easy, but it was quite a process for me. Wow, the entire way I showed up in the world changed. Like my entire being changed. Completely different human. Completely. Yeah. Now it's interesting. There was a seed of that person in the beginning. I always had these great intentions and things I was attracted to and wanted to do, but I was too caught up in the addiction of everything to put energy into that. But once I started to really cleanse my body on a physical level, my mind and spirit cleansed with it, and then that's where I started to learn about the connections between spiritual practice and cleansing arts.
Beautiful, beautiful, and I love it. Again,
I hope that made sense.
No, it was beautiful. I think too. We say like our mess is our message. And sometimes we go through those things because the contrast of knowing. I can only imagine that you really get how great you feel now because you know how yucky it feels to be doing those other things. And so sometimes that happens in our lives, so we can see that contrast and really build upon that. And again, your passion, I believe, comes from that because you've also gotten where people are, in this addictive, instant gratification. It's so much easier to go to that stuff. Like you were saying, those people can know in their mind that McDonald's maybe isn't the best for my body, but there's obviously something happening in the mind that's feeding that, no pun intended, more than making the other choice. And so my question to you, Michael, is when the people that you work with, because you can just say, eat this way or do this thing or, but if there's subconscious stuff going on, do you find that to be hard for people to make those shifts if they're not making the mental shifts first?
Without a doubt, that's one of the most challenged things for holistic practitioners is that because we're dealing with, and a lot of us don't think of it this way, but a lot of the cultural foods we grew up on and a lot of the fast foods, processed foods, all the things that, like I was saying, the not good things we put in our bodies that clog it and poison it, they're normalized in our culture.
Yeah.
And people don't quite understand it as being other than what they were told it was, which is food, and it's really not food. So we have these addictions, and some of these addictions start from basically from birth for a lot of us, right? So really interesting thing came up I have an online academy, and I just had my wife on, who is a breastfeeding specialist, and we were talking about the microbiome and the immune system and all these really interesting things about the importance of breastfeeding versus formula feeding. And of course, look, some people have challenges or whatnot, but breast milk is the perfect food. Now, if you were me growing up, you were formula fed at a certain point. That means the first food that some of us have as infants is a processed food, right? Yeah. It's like processed seed oils and corn syrup and synthetic vitamins. So the first programming that we get in our mind is to be addicted to processed food.
Yeah.
Right? It's a very, very different experience than when we're actually eating nature's food and we're eating that processed food. And then, of course, we grow up and maybe, our parents, give us Doritos and McDonald's and like whatever kids, like parents innocently do. But we're addicted from a very, very young age. So a lot of our clients, in their mind, this is just food. And when they don't like what they're experiencing now because maybe they're 45 or much younger or whatever, and they're aging away from their ability to work through the bad effects of these diets that we were raised on, and they don't like it. So they're like, okay, I'm going to come see you now. And they go to whoever, some nutritionist or a colonic therapist or whoever they're going to see to sort of get well. They do it very reluctantly, right? It's like they got to give it. I got to give that up. They kind of like fight it. They have these little mini tantrums about it, So in that regard, it is challenging. When someone comes in with enthusiasm because like the light bulb goes off, and they go like, I've been living wrong my whole life. I want to clean this up, and they can see clearly. Like that's the most exciting client to work with.
Yeah. I think we're feeding this 5-year-old version of us, really. And I say too, your subconscious mind is a 5-year-old. It's really that's how it works. And so with this kind of anything that you're going to change, that 5-year-old's kind of going to have that tantrum or that intensity that might show up, because what you really hit on too. Not only did we maybe have the McDonald's and the Doritos and things like that as a kid, and normalize that, but two, there's even nostalgia that can come with that. Every time that I have McDonald's, I think about connecting with my dad because he would take me, or there's a lot of different things that foods bring up so much charge around our identity, when it's kind of, if we really stop and think about it, even like you said, even what's normalized. Even the idea, some people would say 3 meals, 3 snacks a day. That's a way of going about it. You don't have to, right? But when we start questioning the things that we've done in our life of how much am I doing this from following some kind of rule book versus like what works for me. I don't know about you, Michael, but I believe that not everybody's here to be, plant-based. Not everybody's here to be a meat eater, not everybody, but I think everyone's here in their own journey with that. But finding the way that works best for their system and their being, while taking out the noise of what people, I can tell you, I went down a rabbit hole of trying to find the perfect lifestyle diet, way, and just so much noise was in me that I couldn't even hear what I was actually desiring. And then I made a huge shift. And this work also was really supportive of that, of what's my soul asking for? Because I can't listen to anybody else outside of me to really truly know that. And I'm curious for you along your journey, your way, and with people you work with, how they continue to build upon. I think that's the strongest muscle that you can have, is like, it's a knowing it from you, not because someone outside of you told you.
I missed the last thing you said. You cut out.
That's
there for
okay.
one
Yeah,
just
about
the last sentence.
your journey, about how you came to this work and what makes sense to you and how you lead people to. So I can only imagine, right? If you're like, do it this way, there's probably gonna be a lot of resistance, especially if it was very different from them. So how do you kind of do you give them a lot of their own way of kind of like meeting them where they're at, and how you kind of make that transition for them? But to listen to themselves first and not all the noise about how all things are outside of there. and even your own experience with that of how you kind of lessen the noise and got to this work truly.
Yeah, I mean, well, when working with clients, it's a little bit of a blend, right? Because there's certain things that we find to be like just fundamentally true about the design, the physiology of the human body and the way it works through the lens of a colon hydrotherapist and through the lens of the cleansing practices, right? But at the same time, we don't want somebody so for me, the way that I eat in a way that a lot of people probably think is very simple and pure, like puritanical. But there's no discipline involved with me, right? I'm not trying to fit into a box that I don't fit into, because I would never make it that long. So we want people to be very happy with where they are when they're eating that way. And we can adapt this like so many different ways. If we can get some fundamentals down, there's really like an 80-20 rule. Like you get 80% of this stuff, in the right direction, and you can get like 99 to 100% of the value of it. So we sort of work with people that way. And it depends, it's different, like for everyone, like, because some people they're trying to reverse situations with their bodies that they don't like. And it could be something from an advanced disease, or it could be something that is very simple, like they don't like the weight that they're at or something like that. But they want to still hold on. And I had somebody tell me, she's a friend of mine and she was also a client, and she was saying but I'm a foodie. Like I need, I still need to be able to do this. And she's almost like trying to battle me on it. And I was like, I'm not trying to push you there, but, and I said to her, I was like, well, then you have to decide to be that so you can be happy. Like you can't be upset at the results you're getting and then also be upset that you're doing the thing that's getting you those results, right? When I first got into this, I went a little too fast in the beginning, and then I went to culinary school, because before I was a holistic practitioner, I was a natural food chef for many years. And I went to culinary school when I was much younger, and it was a natural foods culinary school. And I remember going there and then taking all of these like natural hygiene concepts and raw food concepts and all this very simple, pure way of eating, and then trying to go into this program. And I realized, I said, you're not going to be able to enjoy this. Like you need to be able to like just be into this process and trying all these foods and eating all these different things if you're going to be a part of this culinary program. So I just sort of like let it go, and I said, this is where I am, and I was full acceptance into where I was, and I was happy with that. Yeah. So it's challenging for people to understand, like, where do I have to exert some discipline, because I understand that I'm addicted to these lifestyle patterns and foods that are just getting me bad results, and where do I have to come to acceptance of how I want to relax into life. For some people, it's like, I still want to, there's usually three things. It's either coffee, wine, or chocolate, right? So some of the healthiest clients I have are like, Mike, I live this 95%. They're like, I still need my wine, or I still need to eat a chocolate thing, or I still have a coffee every day. And like, they're like, but that's my thing, and they're the healthiest people I know, and they're healthy mentally too, because they figured it all out. They figured out like, where is my things that are important, that life gives, that I just want to celebrate and have. Yeah. And then where's the part of me that's like, no, I got to control my desires a little bit here, because I'm spilling out a bit to a place I don't like. And if you look at the food culture and the food bloggers and all that stuff, I mean, like, some stuff does require a little discipline that we have to get away from. Like there's this big drippy cheese, white flour things dripping with grease and oil, and every restaurant's trying to outdo it themselves, and the bloggers are making all this stuff. And I'm watching this stuff very entertained, but I'm going like, that's not going to lead anywhere good, especially once you leave your 20s. That's not going to lead anywhere good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in that sense, you got to be a little more.
Yeah. I think too, even like the words discipline or willpower, again, I think that can be charged for people. Something that I know that I'll connect with is it's a commitment to self. It's a commitment to my cells and to myself, where, again, it's good, that instant gratification. Like, I know that's going to feel really good in the moment, but is that going to feel really good an hour from now, tomorrow? Is that version of me tomorrow going to be glad I did it right now? And that's a really hard muscle to work. But once again, like at the gym lifting a weight, when we can really do that and get to the other side and going like, will I be, again, grateful for that in an hour, we can really pause for a moment and catch that. As well as what you said, I mean, I bet you get it all the time where people come with, I am this, right? Again, you're creating that reality of what you are. You're labeling yourself. So I am a foodie, or I just need this, like, and really being able to see, what am I really saying in that? Because I think what's so beautiful, and you're right, like you meet yourself where you're at. If you love that coffee, wine, chocolate, I think the bigger work there is not judging yourself for it first. Because I think, the most unhealthy people are the ones, even though you can have the healthiest diet, but they're judging themselves like, this is the right way, wrong way. It's punishment. It feels like punishment. And that's where, Michael, again, I think as much as we're changing in the body, that if it's you're feeling still shitty in the mind and doing all the right things in the body. I mean, I bet you see that too, that's also not the work either.
I've seen this with clients. There's one in mind that comes to mind in particular where, her mind wasn't right and she did all the right things and she had so much trouble healing. And she would work with a number of us and we would talk and we'd be like, everything is stemming from her psychological responses, because she's doing all the right things. She just couldn't get to a place where she can feel good and heal. And she met up with like this guy he was a big radio personality in the health food world in New York at the time. I don't know if he's still relevant. He had a health food store and restaurants, and he was kind of like a national radio show as well. And she told me once, she said, she was, Mike, you never guess who I met. I'm not going to say his name, but she's like, I met the guy. And she goes, well, I'll say who it is because it won't reflect on him at all. But she says, I met Gary Null, right? She goes, I met him in an elevator. And I told him, everything that was going on with me. Because this guy was like, he was like the Joseph Mercola of the day. He was like into everything, like super smart. I could talk nutrition and vitamins and did it all day. Like he was like the holistic guru guy, in the media, right? And she's like, I can't believe I met him. And she goes, I talked to him and I said, I told him all the challenges that were going on with me. And he was so kind and he was so polite. And he said, come meet me back in my office. And I'm just going to work with you like for free, for no charge. And she goes, but all he did, he goes, he had my mom come up to his office and he sat me down and he played me these videos that were like stuff about like my mind and like my mindset and stuff like that. And I was like thinking, he saw it like right there. He saw it as well,
Yeah.
My teacher, Dr. Fred Bishey, he's 96 years old now. He's in phenomenal shape, still runs and does all the things, he would always emphasize to not only myself as a mentor to me, but also to all of his clients that, the thoughts that we entertain are as powerful as the things that we're eating and putting in our body too.
Yeah.
They have a tremendous impact on our chemistry on a physical level. Yeah.
Absolutely. And there's a beautiful metaphor about these men are out to dinner and they're ordering their food and they're asking the waiter, well, how is it cooked and how, what ingredients do you use? And they're doing all that. And then they've ordered their meals and then they're sitting at the table and they're talking about things. They're complaining about their families and their partners and they're saying all this, this stuff and crap that's happening in their lives and gossiping, the drama and the waiter comes back and it's just like, if you were as mindful about the way that you were ordering your food as you are talking and speaking in your thoughts, it's so interesting that we think, and that's why I think if we just focus on the lifestyle itself, we're missing the point. I was very lucky that during this lifestyle shift for me that I was continuing to work on that mindset because I don't know, Michael, do you believe it can really, you were saying you even have many clients that like, they might do all the right things, but if their mind's not right, it's either not going to last or there's still going to be things showing up.
Yeah.
Do you
100%.
feel like you see a certain kind of mindset with clients? Like if you would say a few different steppences that you see actually with people's mind that maybe are connected to the body, what would you say those are?
Well, I think the biggest challenge, the mindset is that people it's sort of, the path to success, healing, health, it's a path of simplicity. And where we come from with all of our cultural foods and processed foods and lifestyle things is a path of complexity. So people really fight with that a lot and they struggle with that a lot. And what I think that I've always been careful to use this association, but it's very true. Most of the foods that we eat they're refined to a point, and I don't just mean the Twinkies and the donuts. Those especially, but even some of the more simple foods like pasta and things that they're things that aren't necessarily food, that we've made food, and we've refined them to a point that they have a drug-like effect in the body.
Sure.
When we approach food that way, And not to put a negative connotation on all these great, cultural cuisines and food and things like that, but when we approach food that way and we understand that, there is a way to break that addiction where we can really truly enjoy simple things. Like I literally crave a salad for dinner at night, like for real. I'm not doing it. I don't like really want a pizza, but I'm trying to be good, or like, no. That would never fly with me for too long.
Exactly.
And it's for two reasons. It's for two reasons primarily. One is I change the pathways in my brain by being consistent. You can't really have cheat days. That, because once you do that, you open up that cycle. Like I tried to quit smoking when I was younger, and every time you just have one, really difficult. Same with anybody that's dieting. I'll just have one cookie, really difficult. Like it could be something really kind of benign and innocent, or it could be a hard drug. But the snowball, like roller coaster effect that it has, it's the same. And also our microbiome is really interesting because we have more bacteria in our body than we do human cells. So, and they tell us what they want. So it's really interesting, like who's steering the ship sometimes. But the microbiome wants more of what it's been getting consistently. So that'll make you crave the sugary thing, or the, whatever, the breads or it'll make you crave those things. So once you're consistent and you get through that part of it and you rewire your brain, and also your biome is now looking for really good summer tomatoes or like whatever, like that's what you're going to naturally crave and want. And it's not a struggle anymore. It's not a puritanical discipline type of situation. So most people, I think, struggle with that whole thing, that they don't know how to see it, and like that's their mental challenge in their mind, and they're just trying to live life, but they also don't like the results they're getting. But they don't realize that if they can just commit for a bit and really be consistent with eliminating these addictive foods, that they're going to come out on the other side of it, and life gets so much better. It gets so much simpler because those triggers don't exist anymore.
Exact. And I love that you brought this up, because again, just like, it's literally like there's like a brain within your stomach, like within your microbiome, right? That it's like you're creating new pathways, just like we would with rewiring the brain. We're kind of like resituating the body. And what you find is that when your palate, right, when you're consistent, your palate changes. Like again, if you were to program a thought in your mind over and over again, it's now your new normal, and it's like normal for you to whatever thought you're putting in there. And same thing too when you're eating these foods. I always find it so funny in our human experience where someone's like eating a vegetable and they need to add salt and all the sauces, and then and I'm like, a vegetable itself is just so abundant and delicious. But I've also, one, my soul just loves it, but two, I've trained my body, like it just loves that, like you said, the simplicity of it, from consistency, and that you get to really experience something so simple as so profound. I think that's life. You can just go outside and appreciate nature. But if you're just like on your phone 24/7 and there's movies and there's all this loud noise everywhere, the appreciation factor of just going out in nature is a lot harder to really, I feel like, fully embody an experience when you have, again, all that noise and clutter and stimulation in your face. I think that can be seen with certain foods, that you're putting in your system. Again, information of what people are telling you to do. All that's kind of cluttering what your true soul body vessel is wanting. So I'm so glad that you hit on that. Because I think, I would love to hear from you a few different things people can take away from this that you would recommend in your work, that, where they can meet themselves where they're at and they can see some profound shifts. Because again, this is so much more than the body. And that's what I love about your work, is it's changing. It's changing your brain. It's changing your mindset. It's changing your being, that you can just feel more clear and more free and more you. What are some things that you feel like are really great, simple things that people can do, no matter where they're at?
Here's three of them that I think affect people so profoundly. And of course, this depends on where everybody's starting at, but this is especially valuable for someone that's not already eating clean food. Number one, start vegetable juicing. 16 to 32 ounces of raw vegetable juice as the first food of the day, every single day, or as many days as you can get that done. That is going to stimulate elimination. It's going to immediately feed the blood with alkalinity and with all the nutrients and enzymes in the juices themselves. Not just like lots of sugary fruit juices, but like try to get some deep greens and carrots and beets, and then do a little bit of fruit too in there. Make it taste good. Some lemon, things like that. Cucumber, celery. Like that is one of the things I've been doing for 32 years now, and it's one of the most valuable things. if I had to give certain things up that I use for like self-care and to feel good and to enjoy, like juicing would be the last one. Like I love it too much.
Love that.
The other thing is a salad a day, especially with whatever the heavier meals that you're eating with. So have it before that meal, right? That's going to help to move it through the body. So even if someone is still eating, pizza or something like that, they're still eating like, big pepperoni pizza. If you have a really big salad, there's a cleanse that we developed called the Vitality Broom Cleanse. It's really just to, this cleanse was really developed to help people get more value out of the treatments that we do. But there's a picture of a salad in it. And I always point to that and I say, make some version of this and then eat whatever you want. This is someone that's already not into health food or whole foods, but I go, eat whatever you want. But make sure that this is 60% of the meal. Take a little bit of raw sauerkraut, some steamed vegetables, and all the greens and the grated carrots or whatever. And we have really clean dressings in this broom cleanse. But if someone's not even there yet, like go to the health food store, just buy something good. Don't even read the labels. You don't have to be too crazy about it. But because now we have the juicing, the salads, and then don't eat a minimum of 4 to 6 hours before you go to sleep. That's really powerful. Because this way you won't have food decomposing in your gut while you're trying to sleep, creating, basically auto-intoxicating you, causing all sorts of poisons. Because when the sun starts to go down, and especially whether the sun goes down or not, if you go to sleep on top of food, that food's just going to sit. And then it's going to decompose at the core temp of your body. It's going to release all these waste products, and then your body has to deal with that. And that's why people wake up feeling crummy and need that coffee in the morning, because they're not actually getting a complete sleep cycle, because they're putting food in that's not only busying the system when it should be shutting down, resting, and rejuvenating, but it's also spoiling in the gut. So those 3 things right there I would do. I mean, there was a guy, his name is Pat. He's been he was on an old radio show that I did many years ago, and we've talked about all this publicly. He was a plumber that built out my first professional colon hydrotherapy studio in New York. He was a referral from my uncle's friend. He was from Staten Island. I was from Staten Island. So as soon as we met, we're like best friends. But I met him at his truck, and as we're walking to the studio, he's going, Mike, you can go, I'll meet you there. Don't worry about it. Now we're about a half a block away, because he has to lean on every parked car as we go and take a break, because he was 465 pounds and it was summertime. And he's like, he couldn't make it to the place. And he would sit down the whole time, and he would have another guy do the work, and he'd point and do all the things. So we start talking, and like, Pat, what happened with all the weight? He tells me he used to be an addict and an alcoholic, and he got through all of that, and he doesn't do any of that anymore. But now food is like his final frontier, and he orders from 2 different pizzerias every night because he doesn't want to get judgment from the one guy who knows all the foods going to him, and he's like taking all these heroes and things, So what did we do with Pat? He's like, I want to be like you guys. I want to do this, eat clean like this. So what Pat did is he started to juice with us during the day, and he would have a huge salad at night, and it wasn't some farmer's market fancy organic, no heirloom tomatoes, none of that. It was from the supermarket, plastic bag, not organic, dump it in a bowl. He didn't make the dressings I told him to make. He got some real bottom of the barrel stuff from the regular supermarket with like the cottonseed oil or whatever. He dumped it all over the thing. It had corn syrup in it, whatever. And then he ate a whole bunch of steamed vegetables, and then he would eat fried chicken wings or pizza. And it was the first time that he went below 400 pounds from going above. So he went from 465 to 385 just in the time that it took him to build out our studio. And that was from juice and eating salads and eating steamed vegetables, and he just changed the entire way stuff moved through his body. I'm sure his colon started clearing out. We couldn't give him a colonic because he was too heavy for the weight limits on our tables, but it would have been premature at that point anyway. And he basically, yo-yo dieted for many years, and I still know him, we're still friends with him, and he went up and down. He went over 500 pounds, and now I think he's like 200 and something pounds, not from Ozempic, not from any of that stuff. He's just doing it with like sensible eating. But he tried a lot of things. But when he was working with us, he saw how fast his body let go and detoxified. And he still didn't even have to make these big dramatic changes. He just had to include the juice and the salad. And I don't know what time he was eating, but I don't think he was doing early eating. But that was it.
Yeah, yeah. And you have to you get to step into a different identity of you. Because I mean, I bet, how hard is that when he's just used to a certain way that then turns into comfortable for him. But then you get to a point of, but am I really, again, is this really how I want to feel? And is this really how I want to move through the life that I'm living? And what, yeah, like I love that, right? We can meet with ourselves where we're at, and it doesn't mean we have to eliminate all the things. But I always go to, when someone's loving the coffee or the wine or the it's just because you're remembering who you are. It brings you joy. It brings you lightness. It's not actually the food or the drink, and you can also change that. So, what I want to have viewers, and those were beautiful, Michael. Thank you for sharing. I want to have viewers end with of this is where we can get to some of the subconscious stuff too, because I would love to see people trying on one of these things, giving it a go, but notice when Michael was sharing that, what was coming up for you? What was the response to it? Because someone might hear juicing and, they might go, oh, juicing. That, like, what's going on in the mind with that? Or the salad, what's showing up in that, right? Some people might go, like, I love salad, or I want to eat a salad, or I hate salads, or, we're having narrative and feedback going on in the mind. And I think for people listening, I would start there. Like, what's showing up when Michael's suggesting these things? Because that's really where to start. And then who do you want to be, and what actually narrative do you want to have if you do want to try one of these things? That's going to have to change. Like, I'm going to open to this for a period of time. I'm going to, just like Pat, he had to change some things in the deeper mind to go, I'm going to do this. I'm going to have that salad I used to never touch. I'm going to, do the juices and go against what that mind chatter was probably telling him versus, no, eat the pizza that you're so used to and familiar with. So it's really just this dance of the mind first and then the actionable, tangible things. So, Michael, I love what you share. And we just hit the tip of the iceberg with the incredible knowledge and wisdom that you have and be. And if there was one final thing that you would want people to take away today, in the journey of wherever they're at, what do you feel like? What was that like one motivator for you to make those shifts? Or what's that one thing that you feel like people should really hear right now?
Well, right now, just because of what I see in the social media spaces, I feel like I want to speak to this, that, the goal of whatever your holistic lifestyle looks like, whether you're like vegan or raw vegan or paleo or like whatever your thing is that you're working on, it's so that we can be vital and enjoy life more. What's being presented right now is more of a biohacking type of thing where everything needs to be tested and micromanaged. And, it's like the goal isn't the micromanage of our health, right? When I got into this, it was much simpler. It was like there was a series of practices and principles and things that we did and fitness things and saunas and things I do today and, like getting into ice baths. And like there were things that like we did in this therapeutic way, but it was so that we can just really feel the high vibes and go out and live life. But we weren't wearing glucose monitors for no reason. We weren't, doing all, like there's a lot of stuff where people are timing different things and tracking sleep stuff. And like there wasn't this constant tech infusion of micromanaging every little element of our health. And unless somebody has something going on where they need to do that, I would say stay as far away from that as possible. Because there's people like my teacher, Dr. Fred Bishey, who is 96 years old and just, thriving in life right now. There's one of my teachers, Gil Jacobs, almost 70 years old, absolutely thriving in life right now. And the people that are like, the tech millionaires that are doing all of this stuff and having these 3.5-hour podcasts about the importance of sleep and like just talking to death about like all these very simple, natural things, they're all aspiring to have the lifestyle of my teachers. Yeah. But my teachers didn't do any of that stuff. They didn't go for constant testing and blood draws and, they didn't do that. They just did things that felt good. They juiced. They fasted, they got into saunas, they exercised, and now they're thriving. They're getting the results from that. So let's not complicate something that where its value comes from simplicity. That's the message I want to give to people.
Beautiful, Michael. Yes, simplicity. The less is more. I think too, even it's sometimes like what you can kind of remove versus adding to, or, because again, it's like if you pause and just ask yourself, is this really supporting the life I want to live, where I have a monitor and I have this thing and this thing that like I'm idolizing all these different things telling me about how my mind and body work versus, again, I think also like the listening inward. Like you'll know if something feels good. You'll know, like if we can just trust ourselves more than giving our power away to these things. I think that's so beautiful. And simplicity, I really do think is a game changer in any kind of thing you do. If it's simple, because think about it, the more simple it is, the more you're going to want to do it and continue. It's the complicated things that we then think something's wrong with us, but it's going, maybe also just that mechanism is just not fitting to what the simplicity that your soul really craves is. It's feeding that, it's maybe not feeding it in that way. So I really appreciate that. And, for people that are listening, it's, what can I make simpler right now? And again, just inviting you to notice the resistance that you've had, if anything has triggered you during this conversation, or I always say, triggers show you where you're not free, and you get to kind of, again, in a very gentle way, kind of notice what's showing up for you and start there, start there within the mind. And if, you are interested in any of what Michael does, I mean, again, colonics is an incredible experience. I think beyond body, but a soul experience for people, but everyone gets to find, what works for them. And this lifestyle, find what parts of it make sense to you, and just start making these small, simplicity is the key word here, of these shifts that you can just feel more you. That's all this work really does, is that, Michael, you can tell, that you're how we started it. You're genuine, you're authentic, you're real, you're you. And this lifestyle, I think, supports you in doing that. I know it does for me too. And, Michael, where can people connect with you, find you, learn more about the incredible work you be?
They can find me most reliably on Instagram at Everyday Detox, or on YouTube. I do put out a lot of content on YouTube, and I have an online academy called Everyday Detox Academy, where it's a community-based academy where there's just so much happening in there. There's so much video content. There's so much conversation happening in the community section. And I'm very active in that as well. We also do live Zoom calls every month, and sometimes they're recipe demos, sometimes they're Q&A sessions. So there's a lot happening there. So if people want to immerse themselves, that's a good place to start.
Beautiful, beautiful. I just want to end with everyone too. One of my favorite, if you know me, so within, so without. So again, not only what you're putting into the mind, but what you're putting into the body, and you're going to see that. And so just knowing, how do you, instead of saying what foods you can and can't, can and can't eat, or things you can and can't put into your body, stepping into, what do I really desire? What do I really desire for me and the identity that I want to be? And thank you, Michael, for being, your message, turning to your message and the light that you are in this world, showing us what's possible when we really take care of our vessels in mind, body, soul, and spirit. And thanks again so much for making the time for us. And I intend that people, again, share with us, message us, comment below, what's an action step that you're going to do? What's this new identity of you right now as you're hearing this? What are you going to commit to? And it's not punishment. It's not, we got to leave that 5-year-old deeper mind moment of going like, this feels like I'm being like, I get to, and I'm going to lean into curiosity and what will happen if I take a leap and try something different. Nothing changes if nothing changes. And so this work, I think, is really powerful to see those fast changes. What Michael shared, they're very fast, efficient, effective, simple ways to really change your energy. All this is energy. It gives you more energy of you. And what's a better gift than that in this lifetime than to feel more you? So Michael, I thank you so much for being here with us and sharing your incredible heart and soul and mission here. And for everyone, continue to be you. There's so much love here for you. And as always, you got this. We'll see you next time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Michael.